33 minutes past the hour with Super Tuesday just 6 days away now. Mitt Romney has regained some much-needed momentum. He had a convincing 20-point win in the Arizona primary. Romney with 47%, Santorum with 27%. It's a giant exhale in his home state of Michigan. It was a really tight 3-point win over Santorum. So what did Romney do? He went back to attacking Obama.
He thinks he deserves a second term. He says, we can't wait. To which I say, oh, yes, we can.
So let's talk to our political panel. From Washington, Republican strategist Matt Keelen. Here in New York, we have John Avlon, senior political columnist with Newsweek and The Daily Beast. And in Washington, Marjorie Clifton, Democratic strategist and national editor of GoVote.com. John, I'm going to start with you. Romney win, Arizona and Michigan, that's great. But Michigan, we saw super narrow. What does this really close margin mean going forward to Super Tuesday for both Romney and Santorum?
Well, it does indicate a lingering weakness in Mitt Romney's campaign. Remember, this was his home state. His father was a very popular governor here, and he won it by 9 points last time around. With many of the same voters he lost this time around to Rick Santorum. Add to that a delegate split. And one of the real questions, while it's great news for the Romney campaign that they'd avoided a disaster of losing Michigan, the weakness they've shown in the home state is going to keep lingering questions in place. It's going to stop, I think, Republicans from looking for a white knight savior going forward, which is good news for Mitt, but it sets up Super Tuesday while he's going in strong, lingering questions, and there are a lot of problems on that primary map on Super Tuesday he's going to have to confront.
Well, let's talk about the frustration within the GOP. Matt, let's talk to you about that. The GOP kind of doesn't like its field, right? Yesterday in the New York Times was blasting the primary campaign. Here's what he said. Two kinds of candidates emerge from this process. First, those who are forceful but outside the mainstream. Second, those who started out mainstream but look weak and unprincipled because they have spent so much time genuflecting before those who despise them. So we know Romney won, right, but a very close margin, and Romney said this before the victory. Let's listen and we'll talk.
I'm not willing to light my hair on fire to try and get support. I am who I am.
Not willing to light his hair on fire. I don't know what he needs to do to excite the field, right? We don't know that that's going to be it. Earlier you said that Romney is going to get his groove back in Ohio. How is he going to get that groove? Everybody's frustrated. He can't seem to connect. We know what he can't do. What can he do?
Well, first of all, if I had hair like Mitt Romney's, I wouldn't light it on fire either. One of the keys that he has to do is start reconnecting with independent voters. You know, what we've seen in the negativity of this race over the last several weeks is that both Romney and Santorum have been hurt with independents. And you've seen Obama's numbers come back up. Although over the past week, Obama's numbers are starting to come back down with independents as well. But he has to start talking about the general election. I think what he did last night, talking about the president directly and being gracious to his other opponents in the primary, is the key. He has to bring this race back to one where he is running against Barack Obama, not against Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich.
All right, Marjorie, let's look forward then to the general election. One of the things that weighed heavily on the voters this time was a split over the auto bailout, right? A huge issue in Michigan for obvious reasons there. But Obama is also looking forward to the general election. Listen to this.
The same folks who said if we went forward with our plan to rescue Detroit, you can kiss the American automotive industry goodbye. Now they're saying we were alone. I placed my bet on the American worker, and I'll make that bet any day of the week.
How much of a role will that play in the general election?
Well, I mean, that speech was actually seen as more of a win than any of the speeches that Romney were giving in the state. And I would say that the investment in GM and the auto bailout has proved, while risky, has proved to be a big win by the administration. And, you know, Romney and Santorum have both been putting their feet in their mouth quite a bit, and that's what we're sort of holding out to see is going to happen in the next coming weeks. And talking on social issues, as we've seen with Santorum, talking about birth control, criticizing the president for having a good education and coming out seeming like he is anti the American dream of education, or higher education, I should say, has not been winning for the Republican nominees. So I think the economy is their best bet. If they're going to really win the American public, they're really going to have to focus on bettering the economy, because they're not winning on the social front right now.
All right, I'm going to totally switch gears on all three of you now. It's a final question here. It's a crazy question this morning. One phrase answer only. We talk a lot about congressional legislation all the time, right? So there's a new bill referred to Ways and Means. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called the Stash Act. It's a $250 tax break for Americans with mustaches. There's no gender discrimination. This applies to both men and women. Insane or genius? Matt, we'll start with you.
Genius.
Genius. Marjorie.
Insane. I think women would have a lot more tax credits that we should be able to get if they get us tax credit for a mustache. And hide your children. A mustache parade is very scary to me.
You know what? I think I'm going to agree with you on that one. And John, how about you?
Bill, and does he or she have a mustache?
Does he or she have a mustache? Insane or genius? Either one.
Insane.
Insane? Yeah. I think it's kind of genius, actually.
Really?
Thank you so much for playing this morning. We appreciate it.
Take care.
So it's 7 a.m. on